Welcome to Style Masterclass, the podcast that teaches women to look stylish and feel confident so that they can show up ready to conquer and slay no matter what size they are. I'm your host, Miss J. You ready?
Welcome back to the Style Masterclass Podcast. This week we are going to talk about class and classy. No, this is not a how to be classy list. This is not how to look classy list. In fact, I've been bristling at the use of those words and the context in which they're used. So we are going to chat about that here. I want this podcast to be a place where we can have really elevated, smart conversations about style and fashion and beauty and aesthetics and confidence and body image and really getting back to the purpose of this podcast, which is that confident women change the world. This is a motto for my company and a firm belief of mine, which means sometimes we're going to really sit back and examine the way we talk about things. Now, you know, I love to do this when it comes to BS fashion rules and anything that's going to create a barrier to access, is I believe in inclusivity and creating access and room at the table for all of us. You also know that I have the firm belief that style is personal, that style is the outward reflection of your thoughts and feelings about yourself. Where does this come into class versus classy thing, or class and classy and use of those words? Well, let's take a look at them, because I think this is where things get a little funky, and use of these words are usually not meant to include. They're usually to create obstacles and barriers, and they actually are kind of nonsense words that have lost their meaning over time. So we get to examine whether we want to continue to use them, and I'm not going to tell you what you should do. I'm just going to offer you the way I'm thinking about this, and then you can decide for yourself. But I want to back up a little bit. In my programs, oftentimes we will do what we call a vibe check. So we just send out a really quick questionnaire to our clients and we ask them what's important for them. And I coach high achieving women who are really at the top of their game, who are leaders in their own right, who are entrepreneurs, who have really, really gotten their professional lives off to an amazing start or well underway. And we ask them, what did you want to feel? What is an important emotion for you to feel? And the number one that came back was a sense of belonging. And I found this so fascinating because these are women who are crushing their careers. Their careers are on lock, but a sense of belonging is still missing for them. And this is important to note. And this is sort of, let me synthesize my brain map for you. And where I'm going with this is, on the one hand, we have these amazing, powerful women who are also still craving a sense of belonging. But because oftentimes when we've worked so hard to achieve a certain status or a certain place in our career or a certain place in our life, we think everyone has to struggle or do things the same way that we did them in order for it to be, quote unquote, the right way. I see this oftentimes when it comes to the bar exam. You ask any lawyer who's passed the bar about their tale of woe when they pass the bar exam, and they'll give you different stories. For some, it was crazy easy, and that's sort of their tale, right? And then for some of them, it was extremely difficult, and it should be difficult for everyone, and that's their tale. And California State bar exam used to be 3 days long, and that was part of like the badge of honors that you went through this 3-day ordeal, and you came out the other side. Well, during the pandemic and all these things that happened, they made some changes, and one of the changes was that it's now 2 days long. And there was such a kerfuffle about this. It was actually kind of funny because it was like, well, it was difficult for us, therefore it should be difficult for them too. We went through this 3-day ordeal, therefore everyone should have to. I've reached this status place. I've worked so hard to reach this pinnacle, this place, therefore everyone should have to go through the same rigmarole that I went through. Otherwise, is it even worthwhile? Fascinating, right? And I see this in the world of beauty and aesthetics and luxury and style and fashion. We've created these similar, very strange little access barriers, these obstacles to entry by equating certain things with class and classiness. And we think that because we have adopted a certain aesthetic, because we have arrived at this particular point, that to be professional, to be classy, to be put together requires A, B, C, X, Y, Z from all the other humans too. And then we start to adopt this language that perpetuates this idea that there's a certain way to do things, that your hair or your nails or your clothing choices to be classy should reflect a particular aesthetic of a particular group of people. It's so important to point out that that is where we hearken back to those definitions of style versus fashion. If style is truly a reflection of your thoughts and your feelings about yourself outwardly reflected, then what you choose to put on your body is completely and utterly an internal thing, externally reflected. When we refer to something as classy or classless, we're actually commenting on someone's internal work outwardly reflected. It's like saying to someone, I don't like what you have going on internally and how you chose to reflect that outwardly. It's not only rude, it's also unkind. And it creates this false dichotomy that something is either or. Class is just a way of ordering society. And for most of the world, we've gotten rid of the idea of castes or class systems. At least we've tried. But then we've recreated those same systems in the way that we speak about other people, the way that we describe their aesthetics and how they choose to show up in the world. And yes, it's natural. It's a natural part of human nature to want to categorize things, to have a system for saying, okay, this is that, this is that, this is not that, this is definitely not that. Like we do this naturally. But the beautiful thing about the fact that we have a prefrontal cortex and like that front part of our brain is that we get to think about what we think about things. Do you want to refer to things this way? Because they're actually inherently classist when you say something is classy or not classy. When you're choosing to label someone's aesthetic choices as tasteful or tasteless. And here's the funny thing is it's all shit you made up. There's actually no objective criteria for this. It's all in the eye of the individual beholder, whatever their thoughts and feelings are. And I say all of this to say, I want to create a community that has a sense of belonging, where high-achieving women get to examine the rules that they've been handed and rewrite them for themselves, and then modeling that for each other. I want to create access rather than obstacles. I want to leave seats at the table for all of us. So your mission, should you choose to accept it, is next time you hear or say, that's not classy, that's classless, that's tasteless, or she's so classy, double check what you're referencing. Has someone reached your perception of a certain socioeconomic status, so therefore they're classy? Is it a certain aesthetics that you're appealed to? Well, guess what? Those are just your thoughts and your feelings. Just like some other woman's other aesthetic choices are her thoughts and her feelings. And we're entitled to all of them. Each and every single one of us. Do we want to continue to perpetuate and live in a world that creates these false dichotomies and somehow pits us against each other? Or do we want to create a place where there's space for all of us? There's space for all of us in our multitude of skin colors, multitude of hair textures, multitude of ages, multitude of body shapes and sizes. And we all have the same mission, that we as confident women are going to go change the world, that we as confident women are going to create a ripple effect that far outreaches us, that we as high-achieving, amazing, confident women are going to model for all the other women. That it's time we remove false dichotomies, that it's time we remove these notions of class versus classy, classless, tasteless, all those notions. We rewrite them for ourselves and for each other. Because when we say confident women change the world, that includes all the women, not just the ones we deem worthy, worthwhile, or classy. If you have any questions about this, or you want to hear from you, what are your thoughts on use of this word? After this episode, are you going to rethink it or just continue to use it? Completely up to you. I want to continue this discussion. You can email me, coach@judithgaton.com. For now, Judith out.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. To learn more about how to work with me, go to judithgaton.com. Click on the Start Here button to get access to my free personal style class. I give you a quick style win, a confidence boost, and you walk away with the tools to start getting stylish. Who doesn't love that? See you there. Miss J out.